Oh my God. Okay, listen. I had to put my hair pad up because you know this is my typical I'm going to the gym look. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get this content out for real because I know if I go to the gym I'm gonna be sweaty. I'm not gonna come back and make part two. I'm making promises not only to you but to myself, okay? I kind of like this whole YouTube thing. I'm getting into it because it's like your own little TV show. With that being said, I did run back the first video, and number one, somebody should have told me that I was like bleaching out this beautiful face and skin with lights, okay? Y'all know I'm new here. Y'all know I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not good at editing because I'm manifesting my reality. And then number two, I realized like I really need a script. I need to start scripting because I was all over the place with that story about why I'm never going back to Vietnam. I digress. Let's get into this part two. What I did forget to mention in the very first video on what also set the tone about just having bad vibes about going to Vietnam is the fact that the night before I left, someone in San Francisco, California decided to hack my card. And I was only using one particular card when I got here. And by the time I realized it, because it happened overnight, it was in the US, so it was daytime there. I'm sleeping here because we're 12 hours ahead. I didn't see it until it was nighttime in the United States, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Not even on the 24-hour international line where there's always somebody supposed to be there. But by the time I finally finagled the phone system to figure out how I could get this person from stop charging my card, it was time for me to go to the airport. So I'm going crazy with the lady because I'm like, I can't cancel my flight. I'm literally to a point where I have to leave the country. I have to leave. I literally have days or I am going to be in trouble with immigration and I'm going to have to pay fees and fines for overstaying because that is a thing. And I didn't want to go to Vietnam and find out like I can't use my other, card because again, I've only been using one card since I've been here and I just transferred the money to that one card, keeping my other card safe, thinking, no, it needs to be so safe over here while I'm in Asia. The whole time United States is the problem. And I knew the moment that I tried to use one of those other cards while I was in a different country, or even if I tried to use it in Thailand, they were gonna shut it down because again, I was only using that one card. Talked to the lady, she swore up and down, oh, we have everything squared away, and then it's going through the whole debacle of you need to send me another card, but at that time, I was still in an Airbnb, had not moved it to my condo yet. So I'm like, ma'am, I don't really have an address for you to send this to because I'm going to be leaving this Airbnb before by the time I come back. And, I hadn't figured out where I wanted to live as far as my condo goes. So I was like, I don't even have a physical address. You're going to have to send it to my family in the US. This does not help me for the fact that I'm getting ready to go to Vietnam. Like, my nerves were fried and they charged, oh, we fixed everything, reassured you're gonna have no problems, da 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 da. Of course, something, I don't know why I say something because I know it's my intuition, my higher self, that lets me know, hey, try to use this card before you leave while you're in Bangkok. Try to use it. And I sure as shit did, and of course, boom, fraud alert, shut down my card. So now I'm an hour up to getting on this flight to go to Vietnam. And now my second card has been shut down for fraud. And again, now it's hours later from when I talked to the lady at the bank and I can't get a hold of anybody. And I have an hour to get on the plane at this point. The omens were there. When they said there'll be signs, there'll be signs. Anyway, so let's get back to Vietnam. Now let's talk about Da Nang. I realized again that my topic of conversation between what I experienced while I was in Ho Chi Minh and linking up with my friend was completely different because we did get together, and I'm gonna stop calling people my friend. This was a coworker. This was a coworker that I knew that we were really cool with because at the end of the day, so many people saw me struggling before I left the USA. Like, people knew that my dad had died. They knew that my grandmother had died like months before my dad had died. They knew that my uncle had died literally not even a month after my dad had died. And then after like that, my dog had died. Like they knew, and nobody reached out to me. Nobody reached out to me until they started seeing that I was celebrating by myself, you know, my last night in the United States. I was finally getting on the plane. I was coming over to Asia, and then I started like posting little tidbits on my Facebook page about my trip, right? I didn't tell nobody that I was really moving. They thought I was just going on like an extended vacation. But of course, everybody who knew I was having such a hard time and couldn't reach out to me, all of a sudden was reaching out to me and wanted to know everything about my trip while I was in Asia. And she was one of them. So this was really just kind of a link up of convenience, because when we finally did end up linking up in Ho Chi Minh when she got there, by the time she got there, when we finally sat down and talked, she was like, oh, well, you know, I knew you had moved back home and you were going through some things. And I'm just like, mental note checked, because you couldn't even say, hey, are you okay? I know you have a hard time sending you love. I mean, fake some thoughts and prayers. They fake any goddamn way. Fake some thoughts and prayers. So she had finally got to Ho Chi Minh after everything had happened on the Viet Cong Delta. So this was my second day. I had decided I was not leaving the hotel. I was pissed off. I ordered some food. Food didn't come out right. You know, I was very angry. And then I think I know what set me over the edge is that she let me know that she got there. She sent me a message, and I said, okay, knowing that she was supposed to stay with me, here's the hotel, here's where I'm staying. And all of a sudden it was, I don't want to stay there. I feel like, oh, maybe she said, oh, well, you know, you can come and stay with me and my family in our hotel. I know you had a hard time while you was here. That's crazy. I would want to leave too. You know, I would understand if you still decide to leave. But, you know, I'll just, when we get to Da Nang, me and my cousins are going to Da Nang, which is how I ended up going to Da Nang. Me and my cousins are going to Da Nang for 4 days. You're more than welcome to go. And, you know, I'm just going to get us a really nice hotel. We're sharing and everything anyway. So I'll stay with you at your Airbnb when I go back to Thailand with you. And I was just like, there was nothing wrong with where I was staying. There was nothing wrong with where I was staying. So I told her flat out, I said, I know that we were supposed to be splitting the hotel rooms and stuff because that's what we talked about, but I'm not doing that. I've already spent so much money. I had to buy my plane ticket from Chiang Mai to Bangkok because there is no direct flight to Vietnam from Chiang Mai, right? So I boom, to a flight, right? Then I had to, which really, it was kind of like, oh, I did a one-way, so it wasn't like those were separate flights because it was Chiang Mai to Bangkok. I had a 12-hour layover at Bangkok, and then I had to fly out from Bangkok over to Vietnam. But then I had to pay for my Grabs when I got there, pay for my hotel when I got there. And then because I was going from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh, if you didn't know, they're not close. That was another flight. It was another hour flight. So I had to pay for my Grabs from the airport, buy another plane ticket from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh, and then had that whole experience on the Viet Cong Delta where I got shook down for money and people literally took my money. I didn't want to split nothing at that point. I was not willing to shell out I'm willing to cut this shit right now. I'm not shelling out any more money for this. And I said, like, listen, I'm not on a vacation. I'm not on a vacation. And she's like, oh, well, don't worry, you know, this, that, and the other, I'll take care of it. And that's how the whole additional talk about, I'll stay with you in your Airbnb in Thailand. Fine, whatever, cool. Whatever, cool. So by the time I ended up with her and her family, which they stayed at a really cute little hostel, I would have definitely stayed there, which I was going to anyway. However, by the time I looked, this is all before I left as well. Lord, I need a timeline and a script. I looked, and because I was willing to book like 2 beds. She have 1 bed, I'll have another bed, and then I'll just pay for whatever the case may be. She was gonna give me half because that was also an idea thrown on the table. But by the time I went to look, there were no other options. It was options for like 6 beds. And I was like, listen, I am not like that much of a bougie person. I'm baby bougie. And I've stayed at hostels before. I have no desire to stay in them again. I do not want to sleep in a room with 6 other strangers. I can't do it. I can't do it. So we stayed with her family in their cute little hostel for the first day, and then we flew over to Da Nang. This is my first time, like, mind you, I only know her. I meet her whole family for the first time, right? She has family coming from Australia, and here's where it gets wicked. So they're very last minute with their plans. I'm not this last minute. I'm a sporadic type of person. I'm not this last minute with my plan. I mean, we were booking flights at the very last minute. So when we were booking the flights, I forgot to put my middle name from that is the way it shows on my passport on my plane ticket. That was a problem at the airport. Again, communist country. That was a problem at the airport. In addition to the fact that we went to bed dead late and we were late to the airport. I don't care where I am. I don't pay up on my flights because I'm not buying another one. I'm not going to. Get to the airport. They put in the wrong information to the Grab driver. So he took us to the international side instead of the domestic side. Thank goodness the airport is small, but another problem, the line to get to security. It was a domestic flight, and it was like we were going through customs again to travel to a different part of Vietnam, which was only an hour flight. So that was really interesting. And the line was long. And of course, because people had to bring certain kind of checked luggage or carry-on luggages, they stopped them. They needed to look inside of them, get up to the immigration officer, because that's definitely who he was. Immediately, after being in that long-ass line, and we're already just like pinching it this close to get on our flight, they sent me all the way back. They said, you need to go to the desk because your middle name is missing. And I'm like, I got my driver's license. I got everything else that I need, sir. I have everything else that I need to prove that this is who I am. It didn't matter. I had to go to a different counter, went to a different counter, which ended up being a cashier. Nowhere cashier marked. They sent me to a different counter, and then my coworker and her family, they done got all the way through the immigration people, got the security and everything. They're just like, well, we're lining up to get on our flight. And I'm like, well, just leave. At this point, just leave. I'm going back to Thailand. This has been some straight BS from the moment it was meant for me to come into Vietnam. It has been a train wreck. I want to go. I will walk back to Thailand at this point. And they're just trying to force me to, I'm like, I'm in a line. And they're just like, well, no, go to the front of the line and tell them that we're boarding. They didn't care. And they didn't understand that the people at the desk didn't care. Because everybody who wasn't me, who tried to do the same thing and go to the front of the line, got pushed back to the line. Again, a communist country. You don't get to do, you do what you were told, period, end of story. Communist country. You got a problem? Like 50 Cent say, I don't never want a problem. Until you want a problem, then I say no problem. Like, that's how it is. It was so frustrating. And then what really sent me over the edge, by the time I finally got to the front of the line, they finagled everything they needed to finagle. Only thing they needed to do was put my middle name on my plane ticket, which I had to pay a fee for. And the lady was just like, she looked at that watch like, you're about to miss your flight. And I'm like, well, no shit. No shit. And people turned around, started looking at me, and I said, I want no smoke. Luckily, I was able to get through immigration again. Okay, they slamming the passport down and shit. I don't know why. Why are you angry? You sent me back to the line. I get through security. I ended up getting on the flight at the very last second. Get to our room. Our room is amazing. We can't check in. It's freezing cold there. We're right on the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Da Nang beach. Walking around, doing different things and stuff. We couldn't check into our hotel until 3. We were already making our plans. All of us. And it was cool the first day. And then after the first thing is when things changed. Cousins got sick. They stayed at their hotel. They were doing their own thing. I was stuck with my co-worker associate. And she's the type of person, like, I didn't realize how much she talked, first of all. That irritated me. Because I'm just like, be quiet. Like, you don't have to talk the whole entire time. Like, she's the type of person that everything is far. When you're going to see different things, everything is far. Whether it's a 30-minute trip, 45-minute trip, an hour trip, or whatever case may be, Thailand is the same way. This is the type of person who wants to talk the whole way. Shut up. Stop hijacking my ears. Shut up. Why do you have so much energy? And I know that sounds really, really grouchy, but it's really not, okay? Because the moment that her cousin started acting funny and they started like doing their own thing and separating themselves with her, I had to hear about the drama. She was emotionally feeling some type of way, and because we were in the same room, I was getting emotionally dumped on. And they have this whole thing where, and I notice this is an Asian culture in general, but particularly with her family, they're very passive aggressive. And so for me, I'm the type of person, don't keep telling me there's a problem, because when you tell me there's a problem, I say no problem. And I'm gonna bring it up because we're adults at the end of the day. This person is 12 years older than me. I'm trying to throw out sudden hits. And I did feel for her, I really did, because I did feel like they were moving funny too, especially considering the fact that we were sitting down and we were making plans and they were just bailing on us. And then come to find out, like, they were only getting together with us when it was her offering to pay for like really expensive meals and stuff like that. I didn't think that was cool, so I was irritated for her, for real. And I was willing to say something instead of being passive aggressive about it. You know, and just because, and I tried to explain to people, just because you want to talk to somebody doesn't mean that it has to be a disagreement or an argument. And it really makes me understand that people are really not mature at all. And it's so much more difficult when you are doing the healing work and the growth work and you are constantly surrounded by people who are not doing it because they handle themselves to this capacity. It's so frustrating. And the hints wasn't working, you know, and so it got to a point where I just like started snapping. And I'm pretty sure she thought that I can't stand when people try to label you as bipolar because it's disrespectful for people who actually have that mental illness. I'm the type of person that as soon as I see you moving the type of way, I see you for what it is, and now I move different. And it is what it is. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. Nobody ever wants to talk about it, so it is what it is. It is what it is. Coupled with the fact she's the type of person who constantly needs to go over plans. I mean, constant. I mean, we're talking about plans 3 or 4 times a day. And to me, that is annoying. Because unless we have to reconsider the weather or we have to reconsider transportation, something important, we should not be at ground zero with planning the plans. And I'm talking about it's so bad to the point where when we wake up the day of the plans, we're still discussing the plans that we already talked about 3 or 4 times the previous day. So now I'm snapping. I'm irritated and I'm snappy because it's all I can be before I just full on go off. Because you're emotionally dumping on me. I have to hear about you complain because the way that she's complaining about these plans and going over these plans and obsessing, because that's what it is. She's obsessing about how she's being treated. So by the time we go to the really fancy dinner, which is at the Gypsy, which is really, really cute. I highly recommend. It's fine dining experience. The food, the drinks is amazing. Whole presentation, it's fine dining. She decides that it's best to just be passive aggressive at the table instead of talking to them. And then they're telling on themselves that they are doing things without us. And nobody knows why. But again, it's not my place. It's their family. I'm not getting into the middle of the nonsense. The trip, while there were pockets of really good times, there was just pockets of a lot more pockets, I should say, of frustration. And the major difference is because she was there on vacation and I was only over there. Technically, I was on vacation, but because I had to. And honestly, if I didn't decide to go there, I wouldn't be there. If I didn't have to leave Chiang Mai, I wouldn't have never left Chiang Mai. And it just got frustrating to the point where I did have a little like small blow up because I was trying to coerce her to go and do things on her own to give me space. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I gotta write this article really quick. If you wanna go get a massage, go get a massage. Like, I'm massaged out. I've been in Thailand for months. Trust me, I have been massaged out. And then she kept trying to convince me that we're not joined at the hips. We don't have to do the same thing together. We can go off and venture and do different things. But when it came to situations like go get the massage, I can sit here, I can get some work done, because I just wanted a break. I was in Vietnam for 10 days. I just wanted a break. She refused. Oh, well, I don't want you to wait on me, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh my God, don't sit up here and tell me that we aren't joined together at the hip, when in reality you want to be joined together at the hip. And it forced me to tell her things about my personal life that I didn't want to tell her, because I wasn't there on vacation and she didn't know that. You know, this woman is 53 years old. You know, I have to tell you to give me space. I have to tell you to not be passive aggressive, to go ahead and say what you need to say or ask your family what's wrong. So I feel like if I were to go back, I would only go to Da Nang and Hanoi, because I love, not Hanoi, oh yeah, Hanoi and Hoi An. Visit Sapa. I would definitely do Da Nang over. I feel like I deserve to have Da Nang done over, because it's only fair that I got robbed from that experience. Ho Chi Minh would never visit again. I did get to get a unique experience, because that's where her family is from. And the night before we got on the plane, which I failed to mention, we did go out, eat local food. That's a place where the roaches are literally walking down the street, huge, like walking down the street like they're pedestrians. Okay, Hoi An, even though it's so nice, it's cute, it's quaint, it's like an old city, there's rats running around, I would still go visit though. It's really a vibe. It's really, really a vibe and worth going to see. But Da Nang is a place where a lot of the expats go anyway to stay and live, and I can see why, because as far as like tourists, people, foreigners, it's probably like the best place to stay, my opinion. But anyway, so here's the video coming next of the things that I actually did do, the little bit of video that I did get, and the rest is on pictures, and you can find it on Instagram. So until next time, like, share, subscribe.